At some point, I think most of us start to feel we've outgrown children's books. But I think what we miss is how much is hidden inside of them, not just in terms of beauty, but also in terms of complexity. These aren't the kind of books that we see everything the first time we read them. I think these books are meant to be read more than once. They're meant to be returned to at different moments in life, so they can reveal something new every time we read them. These are the kind of books that rekindle a part of us, the part of us that we slowly lose without realizing it. Imagination, trust, a sense of the possible, all of these things that we have as children that we seem to see atrophy when we become adults. So here are five children's books that every adult should revisit. The first one here is a classic. This one is about a toy. It's something soft, overlooked, not particularly impressive at first glance, but it's a deeply loved toy. And over time, that very love changes it. It wears it down, it alters it, but it also makes it become something real. And this book is The Velveteen Rabbit by Marjorie Williams. It's a simple story, one that I remember fondly being read to when I was a child, but it lands very differently as an adult, rereading this, because becoming something real in the way this book describes, it always costs something. It costs something we don't see as children that we start to see a little more clearly as we become adults. So I'd highly recommend The Velveteen Rabbit. The next one here is a book about two children. It's about bringing something together, making something, making a world of their own, a place that feels more real to them than reality itself. And how many of us can relate to that feeling as a child? But then something happens that, well, it changes everything. This book is Bridge to Terabithia by Catherine Patterson. And this is a wonderful book about imagination and exploration into the kind of world that we used to construct as children, but generally we grow out of building. But it's also about loss. It explores what we might call the forgotten depth of childhood. I think we tend to forget as we get older that there were moments of unbearable depth, wisdom, and insight in childhood. It's a beautiful and moving story, and I'd highly recommend. The next one here is lighter on the surface. It's about a character, he's outnumbered, he's outmatched, but he's never outsmarted. And he survives not by the force of his strength, but by the brilliance of his wit. So this one is Fantastic Mr. Fox by Roald Dahl. Now, one of the great things about Roald Dahl is that his stories, they don't talk down to children. Authority is generally depicted as ridiculous, often villainous in Dahl stories. And cleverness, quietly, wins freedom, wins the day in the end, which I love. Now, Fantastic Mr. Fox is one of my favorites, but honestly, any of Roald Dahl's works, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Matilda, the BFG, James and the Giant Peach, there's so many great ones that you could revisit, or if you haven't read, read for the first time. So I'd highly recommend Fantastic Mr. Fox or some of Roald Dahl's other works. Next is a story that follows a child living in a world that doesn't protect him. A harsh world, indifferent, sometimes cruel, and yet beautifully, this child remains true to himself. And this book is Oliver Twist by Charles Dickens. Now, Dickens himself experienced poverty as a child, which shaped much of his writing. And it was kind of a vendetta for him his entire life, fighting against exploitation of children. So it's a theme in all of his works. This one might be a bit of a stretch for this list. It was written in the 1830s and it can be a little bit verbose because it's Dickens, but I think it belongs because of the themes and the relative accessibility for Dickens. And I think it's a great entry point into children's lit, especially if you want to read Charles Dickens. This is a great place to start, I think. So if you're looking for something a bit longer, this is a great one. Now, some honorable mentions. There are a lot more that could be included on a list like this. So here are a few more that I'll talk about probably in the future that really impacted me. The first one is The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe by C.S. Lewis, a story of sacrifice, redemption, moral courage beneath the fantasy surface. It's a beautiful book. Next one here is Anne of Green Gables. This one is about imagination again, identity, finding where you belong in this world. Anne of Green Gables, of course, Ellen Montgomery, a Canadian writer, Canadian novel, very well written, beautiful. There's a whole series that you can read as well, but this is a great place to start if you want to get into children's literature. Another one here I've talked about before in depth. I actually made a whole video on this. It was mentioned many times in the comments on my previous video that you have to mention this book. And so I will, of course. You had to twist my rubber arm for this one, but The Little Prince, Le Petit Prince, is a reflection on love, loss, what really matters in life. This is a beautiful story, very short, very ethereal, reflective. Just an amazing children's book that really is a book you should read many times throughout life. Next up here, this is a book about loyalty, responsibility, growing up too soon, Old Yeller. Great book. I have good memories of reading this, while camping as a kid. And the last one here is Because of Winn-Dixie. Another great quiet story about friendship, loneliness. Beautiful, beautiful book. And of course, there's so many more. Winnie the Pooh, Pippi Longstocking, The Tale of Peter Rabbit, all sort of fables and fairy tales like Aesop's fables, Grimm's fairy tales, Andersen's stories. The list goes on. It's honestly never ending here. But the final one, the last one that I want to talk about, most people know this story, but the way they read it is not at all like the original. The original is much darker, less forgiving. It's about a character who lies frequently, who avoids responsibility, and who slowly descends into darkness and becomes something a lot less than what he could be before turning it around. But it's more than a simple cautionary tale. This is a true classic. And of course, this is The Adventures of Pinocchio by Carlo Collodi. This is the children's version, like a 5-page version here. This is not the one I recommend. It's just the only one I had access to today. It's an excellent children's work, deeply moving, thought-provoking. There's multiple layers of depth. You can read it again and again. There's a lot of interesting moral and philosophical explorations in this work. I read it for the first time, I think, when I was a teenager. So it wasn't the one I read as a child, but I'd highly recommend returning to the original source. It's a version about truth and consequence, about how your choices and your actions and even your vices, they shape you. And it's another one that really explores becoming real, the consequences of becoming real, the time, energy, effort, moral courage that is required, and so much more. And the theme of becoming real is a really beautiful theme in children's literature. It's a good reminder that many things in our world, ideas, stories, beliefs, only became real through such effort, moral courage, and faith. So if you liked any of these recommendations, I encourage you to go support your local library, or if you want to pick one up, I've linked all of these below in the description with affiliate links, which helps me make more book videos at no additional cost. Next up, I'm planning to read The Phantom Toothbrush along with others that you guys have suggested, so let me know in the comments if you have more suggestions of children's books or other books that you've loved, that have impacted you, that everyone else should read. And if you want more like this, feel free to subscribe. I'm building a library of books worth returning to, and we have quite a beautiful community of book lovers forming here as well. So I really encourage you to stick around for future videos. Thank you so much for watching, and wishing you all the best.